This episode discusses themes of cancer diagnosis, terminal illness, and traumatic loss due to a house fire. It includes emotional reflections on caregiving, parenting through crisis, and the mental health impact of ongoing uncertainty and grief. These topics may be distressing or triggering for some listeners. Please take care while listening and prioritize your emotional and mental health.
For the haters, come on to it now or later. Yeah. It don't matter what your name is, share your story, we'll be waiting. For the haters, whoa.
All right, you ready? Ready? Deep breaths.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to For the Haters podcast. Today, we're honored to share the story of Rylee, a mother of three who has faced unimaginable challenges over the past year. From her husband's diagnosis with a rare form of sarcoma cancer to losing their home in a devastating fire. Rylee has been navigating the complexities of caregiving, parenting, and rebuilding her life, all while facing the emotional toll of uncertainty and grief. Her journey is one of incredible strength, love, and resilience in the face of adversity. This is the story that reminds us of the power of family and the courage it takes to keep moving forward. Let's get into it. All right, I'm going to start out just by saying, before I even ask the first question, okay? Set the scene for the listeners. I did just go and have dinner with Rylee and her sister, and that was the first time we met. We were just making small talk, and I just asked like, I don't even know what I asked first. Like, what's the age difference between you guys? Yeah. And they just went on for like an hour of a life story of how they just met 10 years ago and the family complexities of many family members. So as everyone knows that's listening, I like to start out my episodes by asking family history, but I'm going to ask her to avoid getting into those details so that we can talk what we're here to talk about. But if you could share a little bit about yourself, maybe.
Yeah.
How you met your husband, what it was like before marriage and family.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. My husband grew up in Page, Arizona. So like Powell area. That's where he was born and raised. Another funny story. My mother actually went out there on vacation with my cousin, and my cousin's daughter, Ryan, is married to Luke, and that is my husband's best friend. So I was initially going to go on this vacation with them, and stuff came up last minute, couldn't make it, and my cousin was like, but I was setting you up on a blind date. Like, what are you talking about? So we just kind of started talking on Facebook, and things just meshed. We had a lot of the same values, a lot of the same thoughts, wants in life, everything. Arizona, where he's from, is we call it like a seasonal job. You work Memorial Day to Labor Day to survive from Labor Day to Memorial Day.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he was like, well, come Labor Day, I got nothing going on. So if we're going to try it, I'm coming to Wisconsin and we're going to try to see if we can make this work. Otherwise, it's not worth either one of our time. Okay, cool. So he came up here, and she actually brought us to the airport to meet in person for the first time. And that was in October. And we were engaged in March and married in July.
October, engaged in March, married in July. Okay.
Yep. Had our first daughter. Well, I have a son. So he's a stepdad to Carson. But then he moved here. We had Allie in February. So everything was very fast motion, but he's 11 years older than me. So going into that, that's how the whole relationship started, is he's like, I'm not wasting time.
Yeah.
So had Allie, had Bristol, and
how long have you guys been together now? I'm trying to
12 years.
12 years.
Yep.
And your husband's name is? Alan.
Yes.
Well, you said it differently than I did. Is it?
Alan.
Did I say it weird?
I think it's your accent.
Okay, my bad.
Or it's my accent with your accent. I don't know.
Tomato.
Exactly.
You know? So thank you for leaving out the rest of the family dynamics. Yeah, we'll have to do a whole nother episode on life
The family tree.
Yeah, the family tree. That's what it'll be called. But, you know, when did you start noticing, you know, illnesses in Alan, and when did that diagnosis come about?
Our children are, at that time, all of our children were homeschooled. So with his job, they call it like a floating rotation shift. So he works 6 shifts or 5 shifts of days, switches over to nights, and then he gets 6 days off. So with me being homeschooled, like, we do see each other a lot, which is not common for some relationships. And in 2022, he had this rash, like arms, full body sometimes. It came and went, like went to primary care doctor, went to dermatology, did biopsies, testing, all the normal things that they do. Nothing came of it. Didn't think anything of it. We just left it. Then in June of 2023, he kept just not losing movement in his leg, but like he would move a certain way and there would be like, he said he was just felt something. Then he's like, no, like, you need to feel this. So he went and laid down and I was like, oh, okay. That's like in your leg. We're not talking surface level. That is in there. So we're like, yeah, we should probably go to the ER. Just thinking it's like, you don't think anything's serious.
Yeah.
And went to the ER and they kind of blew it off too at first. And they were like, they did an ultrasound. They're like, yeah, there's something there, but nothing to worry about. Went to general surgery. They did this biopsy and they're like, they called us a few days later and they were like, the biopsy's kind of inconclusive. We want to do another biopsy, but don't worry about it. Like, nothing's wrong. So we kind of, I don't want to say went into kind of like a weird freak out mode, but you're like, you lose confidence in what they're telling you.
For sure.
Because it's like, you're not worried about it. You want a bigger biopsy. If you weren't worried about it, you would just tell us to come back in 6 months. Or if things got worse.
Yeah.
So then we're like, we need to go to a different hospital. We need to second opinion, try this somewhere else. And that's where we ended up going down to Freighter, which is about a 2-hour drive from where we're at. And I think that's when we went down there, they're like, no, we need a biopsy and we need it like tomorrow. So I think it was like 2 days later, he was scheduled for a biopsy. And it came back and we were like, oh, okay. So it all moved very fast, but it moved slow in the same breath because it was like we started at one hospital, but then once we got to where we are now at the hospital we're at, it was very fast motion on figuring out what we needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, that must be frustrating, right? Like going through the steps that you're supposed to take and then just being met with either not believing or like just kind of being brushed away of it being as serious as it could be. I feel like there's probably just a better way in general to acknowledge and like not make it seem like it's going to be okay when like you don't know if it's going to be okay or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think that was the hardest part. It was like, and it's hard because even once we needed the records transferred from the hospital locally to Freighter, it was almost kind of a fight because it was like, well, why are you leaving? Like, then they're calling us and they're like, what are you doing? We said we would do that biopsy. And I was like, yeah, but we don't trust, we don't trust that. We want a second opinion.
And so what was the diagnosis? Was he diagnosed right away from that biopsy?
From the biopsy, we got the general diagnosis, which was this is a form of sarcoma. Due to the sample size of what they took on the biopsy, they weren't able to give us the specifics because sarcomas, they're very unique. They're rare. They don't form from anything but tissue just forming into a mass, basically.
Interesting.
They have it's like a tree, and then the tree has all these different branches to it. So they wanted to narrow it down, but they couldn't get that till they had a larger portion to do that. Going in August, we got the biopsy results. Yes, it is a sarcoma. Now we need to figure out the game plan. So from there, he did radiation treatments to try to, it was, at that time, without knowing then, it was about the size of a softball in his leg. We didn't know how long it had been growing at that point. So right away, it was like, this is fast growing. It is huge. We need to stop it before we do a surgery. So they did radiation treatments. And then once he kind of healed from that, because it was in a sensitive area, Then we got to do the removal. And once they did that, then all of the actual diagnoses came back to the rarity and everything.
So the first step was radiation. How long did he do radiation for?
He did 14 radiation treatments Monday through Friday. So it was like almost 3 weeks worth of radiation.
Okay. And then the surgery is directly after that?
They waited like 30 days. I think it was 34 days that we waited in between. But it was in his inner thigh groin area. So it's a sensitive area especially for a male. And if listeners don't know, radiation, it causes almost like a sunburn. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a sunburn. I mean, not a sunburn, but it's a burn. It's a wound. So they wanted that to heal so it wasn't raw, basically, going into a surgery. They wanted to eliminate infection risks and stuff like that. So they waited like 30 days, and then we went into a very aggressive surgery.
During that radiation period, is he still working? Is he still trying to work?
Yes. At that point, he was. So with his schedule, luckily, his employer was very generous. I mean, he had the protection with FMLA, but that sometimes doesn't mean anything with employers, unfortunately. His employer has been great through it all. Luckily, the radiation center was only maybe 2 miles from his work. So I would go pick him up from work, take him to radiation. We would do the radiation treatment, and I would bring him back to work. Or we would try to schedule it. If he was working the morning shift or the night shift where he got done at like 6 a.m., we would try to schedule it for like 8. So we could go there and then he could go home and sleep after.
You were homeschooling your kids during this, or did they go to school?
Nope, homeschooling.
During that. So all the things are just piled up.
Yeah. And my 2 daughters also have like speech therapy, and they had their own therapy. So my schedule before this even started was full. Yes, I was like full. So adding this on was like, okay, we got this. But okay.
After surgery, which is the next step from there, what are they telling you? What is the expectations? There has to be some sort of something that you go through now living with a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah. So, I mean, he had the surgery. He had to stay inpatient for like 5 days. Like, it was just shy of a week. And I think at that point, we knew the likelihood of this spreading. We were kind of warned of that in the beginning, that with sarcomas, they do have a high risk of metabolizing and going other places, growing in the same spot. But after that surgery, it was almost like a sigh of relief, because we're like, okay, it's gone. Like, it's out of your body now. Almost like a hope of like, we're done, So, I mean, his surgery was we left the middle of November. So we're like,
of 2023.
2023. Yep. Middle of November. So we were like, okay, we have a break. We didn't have a doctor appointment then. We went from going to Milwaukee weekly to we didn't have a scan until like the beginning of January. So I'm like, it was almost a little like mini vacay, like, okay, that 2-hour drive, we're done for a little bit.
Yeah.
It was this like sense of relief, but also very hesitant because we knew what could be coming. For him, it was a long recovery for that surgery because they ended up having to take part of his quad muscle and then taking a piece from the outside of his leg and putting it inside. Like, the muscles kind of worked differently because your muscles kind of learn what they do, and taking an outer and putting it on an inner. So he did some therapy and stuff like that. So like, we still have, but those we did locally. So that was nice. It was really just like getting him recovering from that. We kind of, the sarcoma side of it took the back burner because he just went through a major surgery. We focused on the recovery of
the physical
that
part of it. And you said it wasn't until after the surgery that you got like a full diagnosis.
Yep. It was after Thanksgiving. It took about 2 weeks to get the full diagnosis. Even then, it wasn't crystal clear. Sarcomas, they're just weird. And it sounds weird, but they're weird. They grow and they change. And I mean, the doctor, when he described it to us, that's literally what he said. He was like, sarcoma in itself is the trunk of a tree. You got the base, it's thick, it's strong, it's built to last. But then as you get up, you get, okay, this one is still big, but not big deal. But then when you get out to those little teeny branches that are only a year old, those are rare. We don't know a lot about them yet. We don't know how they start, why they start, how to treat them. We know that they come from this big base, but they're different. So come the beginning of December-ish, when we got that initial, it's rare, we were at a branch. We were off the trunk. We were off the upper part of the tree. We're at a branch. So we know it's on the more rare side. It wasn't until the doctor actually sent that out again to an outside lab that it came back to the actual rarity of it. I mean, there's less than 100 people
Wow.
that have this specific strand to a T. Even when you look it up, like there's not a lot of information because they don't know.
Yeah.
So
after you have surgery in the winter, and then you don't have, he recovers throughout the winter, and then what's next in treatment? When are those next appointments?
the beginning of January, he had another scan. That scan came back that there was another concerning area in the leg. Pretty close to the other one, but this one was more towards like the buttocks area. It was on the outside. They were concerned about it, but they weren't positive. It didn't look as solid as what the first one did. The first one was very, it was like a ball. They could tell there wasn't rough edges. It was kind of more smooth. It was easier to define what it was. Where the second one, they thought it was like just a liquid pocket for a while. They weren't 100% sure. So they're like, we should probably biopsy that one just to check. And we biopsied it in January, and it actually came back, now we know, incorrectly. But basically they didn't go like deep enough into it to get the correct sample. But now we know it was another sarcoma growing all the way back then.
Is that typical? I know that you said it spreads like that. Is it typical to spread in the same place?
Yes. That is like the number one spot that it's going to metastasize, is to the same area. From research that I've done, and even like speaking with our doctors, 10 years ago, his surgery would have been way different than what it is today. 15 years ago, they would have taken his leg. It was called limb sparing because it was so common for them to come in the same spot. It was easier just to amputate than to worry about the risk of it spreading.
Is that still something that they consider?
It was brought up, but they never thought they were at that point. They have kind of said, like, if it keeps coming back in that spot, it's going to be up for discussion. But right now, our orthopedic oncologist is fairly confident with how often we're getting scans that we'll be able to stop it enough that we can treat it.
Do you have to do surgery again then, with like there being like to remove that second growth?
He actually did. Yes. So that happened in October of this past year.
Okay. But there's other things that
happened in between there.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, it's been a great time.
So after, I know that in June you have a scan when there are things that pop up. If you can kind of speak through that a little bit.
After that surgery, the plan was scans every 6 months. So we had the one in January, did that biopsy. We thought we were good to go. Had the one in June, and they found nodules in the lung. So, not to speak bad of my husband, but he is a smoker.
Yeah.
So they were worried, but it was also like, I think for me, part of it was like, oh, maybe it's just from smoking since you were 16 years old. It's fine. In denial. And then they were like, no, like you need to come in. We need to really look at this. And that's when they said, he had 4 on one side and 2 on the other. And they're like, we're going to go in to the biggest one, which was on the right side as well, which is where the sarcoma was. And they basically wedged it out. Like it was on the lower part of the lung. So they went in here and they went in here and they cut the piece out in the middle and suctioned the 2 pieces back together. And that came back as well, though. Like, nope, that is the same sarcoma. The DNA was the exact same.
Wow.
It has spread.
I mean, what goes through your head at that point, right? Like, I mean, there has to be a lot of emotions and a lot of worry.
I mean, at that point, it was like heartbreaking. We had thought that we had not beaten it because we knew that this chance was there, but like, crap, Now it's not just in the leg anymore. Now we're at a whole nother spot of the body. And once that biopsy came back and confirmed that it was a sarcoma, it was the same DNA, that automatically put us at stage 4.
How do you approach that? How do you approach the treatment? How do you approach, I mean, stage 4 is like a terrifying thing to be told.
Yeah, it was. And my husband is not one, like from the very beginning, he has been off the internet. He doesn't want to look at it. I was telling my sister today, I'm like, to this day, if I called him right now and asked him, what is the abbreviation for your sarcoma? He would not know. Like it's sarcoma. That is all it is to him. To me, it's SEF.
Yeah.
Like that is the abbreviation for what it is. But he doesn't want to know. Like he kind of
is he just putting his trust in everyone else's hands? Like
I think it's a little of both. I think it's like a denial. Like you don't want to think that you are a stage 4 cancer patient. But also we have a lot of trust in our doctors at Freighter. And that is one thing that I'm grateful for, the path that it's taken, as weird as that sounds, because with the doctor, our orthopedic oncologist, he is bluntly honest. And from the start, he has not sugarcoated one thing to me. He has been blunt. He has looked me in the eye and told me, this is what you need to be careful for. This is what we're dealing with. And here are what the outcomes could be. Almost to the point that you kind of leave and you're like, damn it, he pissed me. Like you're mad because of what he said and how honest and how bluntly he said those things. Like you kind of leave there feeling like he didn't care. Like you were just a patient, but then you leave and like you think about it and you're like, no, thank you. Like, thank you for doing that. So he really prepped us for like what was to come versus our oncologist now, who's kind of taken over more because now we're looking at the lungs instead. He's like, he's like an old grandpa. Like he is very gentle. And even when I like, what is the prognosis for this? He was like, I really hoped you didn't ask that. He doesn't want to hurt. He knows the news he's going to deliver is heartbreaking. Yeah. And I'm glad I had it this way because Dr. Nielsen was able to prep me for the road ahead of us so that I could do the research and I could look into it. And now it's like, it's devastating now. But I feel like I'm handling it better because I know this is the next step of what we were warned of. So it's not a complete shock.
Yeah, like you prepared yourself for it a little bit.
Yeah.
After you find the nodules on the lungs, what is that next step, right? Like, is it another surgery? Is it radiation or chemo?
Due to where they are in the lungs, they don't want to do a removal surgery.
Okay.
It would require it's in both of his lungs.
And this is recent, right? Like they found it just last year, June of last year. It hasn't even been a year yet.
Yeah.
At least when we're recording this.
July was the surgery. July of 24 was the surgery to take out the wedge. So we didn't get the lung diagnosis until August after the biopsies and all that. So then it kind of went into, okay, we really can't do surgery here. Let's do chemo. So we kind of started prepping for that and kind of like, we weren't on the road to it, but we had, and the talk started of chemo, what we needed to do to prep that, because you have to do testing to make sure everything's okay, like get a baseline and put a port in. And so all those talks started. And then it was like, then his leg started hurting more. Yeah. And then we went back into the leg to that original spot from January. We need to reconsider this.
Yeah.
And so then in October, he had surgery to remove that.
This past October.
Yep. So that we went into that, we would do that. It should be a fast recovery because it's on the outside. There's not as much muscle reconstruction. It should have been a fairly easy recovery compared to the first. His body just didn't take to that well. November, he just started not feeling good and it came on super quick. Fever. It was almost like flu-like symptoms, right? And so we went to the hospital and they were like, we went to a local ER, and they're like, well, we need to get Freighted involved due to the fact that you just had surgery there. And once they got them involved, they're like, no, you're coming down here. We're going back in. There's something going on.
Yeah.
There was an infection in basically the fluid of the open space of where they took this sarcoma out. Fluid built up in there and caused an infection. So then we had to drain that out, put drain tubes in, and try to clear that. And then the same thing happened again in January. We thought we were in the clear. We thought we were good. Let's start the ball rolling again. And then it was same thing. But this time the infection came on a lot faster.
The infection in that same spot.
Yeah. It was like he went to bed that night and just kind of said, like, I'm not really feeling good. I'm going to go to bed. Not a big deal. Just he was tired, wanted to go to bed early. Okay. Woke up and he was like sweating. His fever was already up to 102, 103. Like concerning enough that I was like,
Yeah.
Okay, great. We're going down there. And brought my kids to clear the kids, and it was like, we're going back down to Freighted. And it was like, ER, do the scans, do all the stuff, get you prepped. And the doctor was like, you're having surgery. Just go through the ER though, so they can get all the scans done, because it's quicker for them to do it than for him to try to book them all. So he's like, get all that done. I'll put the orders in for what I want done. And as soon as we have an open spot, you're going into the OR. We're going to redo this all over again.
Wow.
So, but that pushed everything back. I mean, that pushed the chemo back. That pushed further forward movement. I felt like we were going backwards for a while.
Yeah. And there was other opportunities for certain trials too during that time that you were trying to get him into as well, right?
Yeah. Actually, right before January, the day of his surgery, actually, he was with a clinical trial. Before they call it the flip. You know what possibilities are on the trial. This drug, everything like that. She was supposed to do the coin flip that day to determine which side of if he was going on treatment A or treatment B. And once we knew that we were doing a surgery, it was like, okay, let's call her. Let's figure out what we need to do. And she goes, we need to pull him from it because now he's going to be recovering from a surgery. Like, he can't do this. And it was like, okay. Like,
yeah. I mean, that has to be a lot too, right? Like
was.
A chance of hope inside that. And that's kind of just taken away because of the complications.
It was, because people don't, and a lot of people don't even know, there's a lot that goes into like prep for a clinical trial. They have to have, he had to have like an echocardiogram done. He had to have another CT scan. He had to have labs done. Like, there was a lot of appointments leading up to him even given the green light to do the clinical trial. So we had just done all that the week before. So now we're like, we just did all this testing, all this time. And now what?
Yeah.
When do we start? Can we still do it? It was a lot of uncertainties at that point. And then in the back of your head, you're also worrying like, okay, we were told in July that this is cancer. It is now January. We're almost 6 months out from that original being told that it's in his lungs, and we're not doing anything to stop it yet or try to. So it was very frustrating, as much as it's like, you put trust in the doctors that they're doing what they need. And
you kind of have to, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're not, what do we know? We're not
Yeah.
educated behind like the complexities of everything.
Yeah.
Like, you have to put trust into someone. And so January surgery goes well.
Yep. January surgery goes well. At that point, because of the fact that he had the two bigger infections, they brought in infectious disease to kind of try to narrow it down to get a better antibiotic, because that whole time he was on antibiotics. So they were like, in a quote unquote normal person not fighting cancer, you shouldn't have got another infection while you're on antibiotics. And so they're like, we need to bring in the pros. We need to bring in infectious disease. We need to know better how to treat this, which turned into them doing a PICC line where I had to administer medication through the PICC line 3 times a day. But then his body rejected the PICC line. It just did not agree with that. And so then we're like, okay, but the course of treatment of this PICC line medication antibiotic isn't done. Now what? And so then they did infusions. So we went 2 times, 1 week apart, and did that beginning of March.
Yeah.
And he had 2 infusions, and that is supposed to carry him through till the end of April. And so far, I mean, we met with them last week, and they're happy with where he's at. We haven't had any outbreaks infection-wise. So we're kind of like discharged from there, and we're kind of given the clear right now that we can move forward and do the clinical trial again, try again to see if we can go that route.
Yeah, it's an interesting place to have a conversation because, a lot of people that come on here, there's a ending to the story, and you guys are in the middle of your story. With that, obviously, we are in in the place of still doing treatment, still trying to figure out how we can get control of the lung cancer, the cancer in the lungs.
Yeah.
And then still probably recovering from the leg surgery a little bit as well. Yeah. And then February of 2024, you guys are thrown with a complete disaster of your home burning down. That was just last year, just a little over a year ago.
I don't want to say a funny story, but Alan was still off work. He hadn't gone back from that first surgery yet, and he had jury duty that week. Not fun for anybody, but he Monday, Tuesday, you call every day to see if you need to show up.
Yeah.
And so Monday, Tuesday, he called, nope, you don't got to come. Called Tuesday night for the next day.
Cancer wasn't a good enough reason to not go to...
No, because you're not in active treatment. Believe me, we tried.
Oh my gosh.
And so he was supposed to report on Wednesday. So mind you, like I said, we're all homeschooled, so we don't get up early. We all sleep in. He had to get up that day, take a shower. He had to be to the courthouse, blah, 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 blah. And where our bedroom is compared to the bathroom is, it's the opposite sides of the house. So sleeping, he gets in the shower, and I'm woken up to him yelling. In reality, I'm like, he forgot a freaking towel. I'm going to beat him. I didn't think, I hear him yelling, but I don't hear what he's yelling. So I'm like irritated because I'm like, you're literally waking me up because you forgot a towel.
Yeah.
So I was kind of slow moving, getting out of bed, got ready, got out the door, and all of a sudden I was like, oh shit. The whole first floor was covered in smoke. And it's down probably it's below my vision. So it was halfway down. And then panic mode really just kicks in. I mean, our 3 kids sleep upstairs. I don't know where the fire is. I don't know where it started at that point. And I can still only hear Alan yelling, get out, fire, fire. And I walk through our living room and then the dining room. We have the stairs for the upstairs are off of that. And I'm in the smoke. I can hardly breathe. But my 2 children, Allison had slept on the couch that night. So she heard him. And she actually went upstairs and woke her siblings up.
Wow.
Woke them up, made sure they were awake, and then she ran out. And then, so when I got to that stairway, Carson, our 15-year-old, and then Bristol, our youngest, were at the stairs in panic mode. At that point, it was really, I couldn't breathe. That smoke had kind of taken over. And I went up the stairs because our stairs are L-shaped. So you go up a few, there's a landing, and then there was a window. And I'm like, I need to open the window and take some breaths. Went up, took those breaths, pushed them through the kitchen. In between those 2 rooms, between our dining room and our kitchen, at that time I didn't know, but our son actually, Carson, was holding on to me. I had Bristol in front of me and I was in the middle, and he was holding on my shoulder. He actually had let go. And I didn't even know. The fire had come up in between us. And if he would have gone through, he would have been burned. So Bristol and I got out, and then I had turned around and he wasn't there. And as a parent, it's like you want everything inside to fucking go back in. But I'm like, I don't know where he is. I don't, but it's like you go. It's just you go back in. And Alan was like, no. And he pulled me back because he was already on the phone with 911. And he was like, take this call. I am going. Mind you, he is outside in a towel in February in Wisconsin. Cold. And I got on the phone with 911 and I'm like, you guys need to get here. My son, he's in that house. He's still in it. I'm screaming his name. And luckily, as a teenager, he had his phone on him. He called and was like, how do I get out of here? Because
He got stuck.
He got stuck, and people don't, there's so much judgment and people who want to say, you know what you're going to do. You have no idea in that moment. In our house, when we got down those stairs, we had a door straight ahead in our dining room. I had a door by my bedroom away from the smoke.
Yeah.
I could have turned left or gone straight and got out without even going through the smoke. I mean, minimal smoke.
Yeah.
Instead, I went right on top of the fire because the fire was above our kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I went through that to go out the way you come in and go out of your home. The instincts kick in and you go how you go,
Yeah.
But it was so smoke filled at that time. He was disoriented. He didn't know left from right. He didn't know where he was. So luckily he was able to, our thermostat, because you have backup batteries in it. So when the power went out, the batteries were still in it. He was able to see the light shining on the thermostat and was able to kind of like get his senses.
Orientation.
Yep. And went into our bedroom and shut the door. And our dogs were still on the bed. Alan was able to get to the front of the house and open the window, and they were able to get out the front of the window. So, I mean, luckily, none of us were harmed. I mean, we had some smoke inhalation, but given what it could have been, it was a blessing. But yeah, I mean, a lot of that day was just, it comes back in pieces. It's weird because I think between everything, you kind of block stuff out. And then it's like it comes back. And like I'll even call her or I'll talk to Alan and it's like, is that how this happened? Like,
yeah, trying to piece it's trauma.
Like you try to piece it back together the best you can. And it's hard. My brother, was a firefighter in the Air Force. And so it was like when all of this was happening, I mean, the fire trucks closed down the road. We live on a county road, so there's not a fire hydrant by us. So they're bringing in this pool thing to pour water into for the hoses. Like all of this stuff is just happening and the ambulance is there. The kids are in the ambulance. They're trying to ask you questions. Like you get overloaded. I literally called my brother and I was like, my house is on fire right now. You need to get over here. Yeah. And he was like, what? Like you can't blame him for the response, but I'm like, I need you here right now. And so luckily he came. So he was able to help kind of guide us and kind of be that in-between person. Like, hey, they're doing this because. Yeah. Or, hey, they need to know this.
In the moment, it's just so overwhelming. It was so much.
So overwhelming. Like the news stations come and restoration companies come.
Yeah. With that, you lost like 98% of your things, like your belongings, like your entire house burned. Yep. Was there any answers to like what may have caused the fire to start?
Basically like electrical wiring. It was an older farmhouse, so I mean, yes, as we did like remodeling, the wiring would get updated, but we didn't do it. And you don't do it all at once. It's expensive. It's whatever.
Who can afford that?
And basically that's what they ruled it down to was just like an electrical fire. And because of how it was done back then, it just takes on quick. I mean, the house was still standing when it was put out. And even after speaking with my brother and the fire department and everyone, if this would have been a modern day home within the last 15 years of being built, it would have gone up and it would have been ashes. It saved the house. I mean, they still had to take walls like outside walls down and rebuild them. It's still our house. We didn't have to completely rebuild. It's just really updated on the inside now.
2 questions, right? I mean, now we're talking about the fire, but how do you have conversations with your children, right? Like with everything that's going on with your husband, with Alan, like how do you navigate these conversations when all of these things keep happening and you're trying to survive and you're trying to navigate decisions? Do you have honest conversations with them? Do they know what's going on?
So Carson is 15. We are real honest with him. Like he knows what we know. We feel that he's mature enough to understand that. With the 2 girls being 11, well, now 11, but younger, 9, 10, 11, we give them the PG version of it. I mean, in reality, it's like, backtrack a little bit. His first sarcoma in his leg, we named it. We named it Fred. Because that way it was like, if something was wrong, it was like, hey, that's happening to dad because of Fred. You know, like if he, like his leg would give out sometimes, or he wouldn't feel good, or whatever. That's Fred. So they knew of it and they knew what was going on, but they didn't know the severity. I mean, you don't even know, but in the last week, things have taken a turn. About 3 weeks ago, we started noticing a difference in Alan's breathing. And this cough. Went to the doctor last week. They redid the CT scan. It's actually growing in his airway at this point. So things have kind of taken a turn for the worse. It's something that we're really speeding up now to get the chemo started and really trying to be proactive. But it's kind of taken, I'm not going to cry. I'm losing hope. And that's hard. It's hard for the kids because they lean on me a lot for questions and for answers, and being kind of their primary caretaker. It kind of changed from if I'm going to lose my husband and my kids are going to lose their father to when. And now, like, how do we navigate this going forward? He's getting the port put on Friday. So, and then chemo was supposed to start at the beginning of May. But that comes with hidden territorial issues as well, because my kids at this point haven't seen him sick. If you would meet him, you wouldn't know he has cancer. You wouldn't know that. He doesn't, not that cancer has a look, but he's not sick. He's just, his leg gets sore sometimes. You know, they haven't, there's no side effects right now for them to see. And what we're going into is a very, very strong chemo. I mean, it's called the Red Devil.
Yeah.
That's the nickname. He is gonna, it sounds weird, but like they say, like your bodily fluids turn red. So if he sweats, it's going to be red. That's going to be terrifying for a child. Unless you pre-warn them of that. Like, hey, this is going to happen. It's because of this medication. But then you also know the side effects that are coming. You know the nausea, the hair loss, the ill look. You know, like he's going to be worn down. He's going to be sleepy. They're going to see all of that. And it's something that I'm trying to figure out currently still how to navigate. Our life has already been traumatized enough. I don't want to add to that. But I also need to keep it real for them in the same breath. So my plan right now is to figure out, it's a 21-day cycle. So he'll have a treatment on day 1, and then 21 days later, he'll have the next chemo. My plan is to kind of figure out, where are those bad days? Is it days 3 and 4? Is it days 10 and 11? We don't know yet. Depending on how it goes, it's going to be a lot of trying to figure it out. And if I get to the point that I think they need to leave during those bad days, I think that's what's best. I don't think they need to look back, because in a traditional sense, if they weren't homeschooled, they would be going to school. They would get that break. They don't get that right now. And I need to kind of shield them a little bit from some of this while still keeping it honest with them as just, hey, dad had this medicine. It's trying to make him better. But in the meantime, it's going to make him really sick. And why don't you go to Aunt Jessica's or Uncle Logan's or somebody's house and go have fun and be a kid for 2 days, whatever that's going to look like for them. I don't know yet.
And you guys are back in your house now, right? I know that you were living with your in-laws or
my aunt and uncle.
With your aunt and uncle.
Yep.
For the past year, but just recently got back into your house as well. So, I mean, you're managing a lot of hard conversations and a lot of difficult scenarios of, you know, without having the comfort and security of your own home as well. So there's just a lot of pieces.
That was a lot. I mean, being at my aunt and uncle's, they saw the decline in him as well, because it was like they saw him every day. So they were like, hey, from seeing him day 1 of you living here to day 300, we see the difference. We see the decline.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, it was like, you don't want that on them, that it was like, we need to get home. You don't want something to happen in somebody else's home.
Yeah.
As gruesome as that sounds, it's like, I didn't want my husband to pass away at my aunt and uncle's house. Like, how traumatizing for them as well, or to do the chemo, or to do a lot of these. I mean, luckily they were great and they didn't look at it like that. They looked at it as, we're helping you out, and if we have the space, let's do it. But in the back of your mind, you're still like
feeling like a nuisance to them. Yeah.
Yes,
A
like
burden.
a burden. Like,
Yeah.
you guys, your kids don't live here anymore. Like, you have 2 grown kids. You should be in your, what do they call it, where like your kids
Nesting or empty nester.
Yeah, empty nester. Like, you're in that empty nester phase, and now not only do you have 2 other adults, you have 3 children. Like, you went from 2 people to 7 people real quick.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it says a lot about them though, and the people that they are too.
yeah, it does. And it was great because it was always like, I mean, even to this day, like, my kids are like, can we go over there and have dinner? Like, they're just, I mean, we had a relationship and a good relationship before, but it's really grown that. And it's like, now I know that they're just another person in our corner. And it's like, if I ever need to, or if Ayla needs anything, or the kids, like, in a heartbeat.
Is that what like gets you through this? I know it's hard to think about, but I mean, some people don't have anyone. I go down that rabbit hole and when I'm in situations of just struggles in life, and I'm like, fuck, like, what do people do when they don't have people around them? But, you know, being the primary caregiver, not only for your husband, but for your kids, you know, how do you take care of yourself to be able to take on like all of the weight that comes along with this?
I mean, realistically, as weird as it sounds, like, even coming to this, it was like, I know what the next 6 months is going to bring in chaos. And this was a reset for me.
Yeah.
It was like, I just need a few days to
get ready for that.
Like, get ready for the chaos that's going to happen in my life. And I need to figure it out. But before like this week, I struggle. I have a hard time with that because I feel like as soon as I don't need to help Alan, or we don't have an appointment, or we don't have something going on like that, okay, well, now I need to catch the kids up on their schoolwork because we had an appointment yesterday, so their schoolwork didn't get done. So now we need to do that today. And then it's like, as soon as that's done, oh, now I need to get the house, you know, I never had a pause. I don't have a break. It's one thing after another. And it's something that I'm struggling with because I know in order for me to stay strong and stay like above water, it's that classic, what is the saying? Like, your cup needs to be full in order to help other people. Like, if I'm not taking care of myself, I can't take care of them. But I don't even know how to do that quite yet. It's still something that
and that's fair, right? Like, you're in the thick of it. You're not on the other side to give any kind of insight into what you're in the trauma, right? Like, it's being kind of grayed out. What does the relationship look like between the two of you, like you and your husband? What, you know, how has that changed? Is there, like, how does that communication work? Like, do you talk about what could happen?
It's rough. I mean, I don't think anyone goes into a relationship or marriage or anything thinking that something like this is going to happen. So it hit us like a freight train. It was like, bam, it's here. There was no way of stopping it. And I just had to go into that caretaker mode. And with him being the type that he is, where he doesn't want to research it, I'm polar opposite. I'm down the Google rabbit hole. I'm on TikTok looking it up. I want to know all the details. I want to know the good, the bad, the ugly. And that way, when I go to the doctor's office or whatever the situation is, I know what's coming. And so part of that is really hard for me because, you know, I look at things and I'm like, hey, like, I think this is a great idea, or I don't, or we should do this, or, you know, I advocate for him. But that puts a lot on too, because I don't want to not that I'm making the decision, because it is his body and he can do whatever he wants, but he does lean on that a lot. And I don't want to make the wrong suggestion and have that be the wrong one.
Do you have those conversations with him though?
We do. We do. And a lot of it happens to and from these 2 hour, because like I said, the hospital's 2 hours away. So a lot of those conversations, that's the only time we get away from the kids.
Yeah.
So a lot of our deep conversations do come from that. Luckily, a lot of the stuff that we talk about goes with what the doctors want and how they want to treat and everything. I mean, yes, there's times that I get frustrated, like when we had to stop the clinical trial. It's like, seriously, why can't we do this and that at the same time? But we just had to, like, I'm a control freak, and I had to let go of that. And I had to just say, like, I can't control this whole situation. And if the doctors are saying this is what's best, I need to do that. I need to, even with like my time management, I had to back off. My 2 daughters are in speech therapies and other therapies. I had to rely on family. I had to rely on their aunt. Like, hey, I can't do this. I cannot do it all. I need help. And that was huge for me because I'm not, that's not who I am. It's like, you think you can conquer everything. And that's how the caretaking is going too. Because I'm like, I don't want to get to the point where we lose the husband and wife. And that is a conversation we have to have sooner rather than later, because what happens when we get to that closer to the end phases, if that's the route it's going? Because I just want to be there for my husband, and I want to be able to like lay in bed with him and be there and not be the one having to take care of it. And that's what is scary for me, because for him, it's almost like a pride thing. Like, you don't want to, we had home health come in when the PICC line was in. Granted, that was great, but it's like, you don't want to keep telling your story to these nurses every time they come in. It gets annoying, to be honest, and I worry about that. I worry about what that's going to happen, like where that transition is going to happen, because I already see a lot of the husband and wife slipping, because it's just, I guess it's natural,
Yeah.
but we have to figure out how to rein it back, like how to bring that back. And that's something that we are struggling with, and I don't know.
Yeah. I think that there's the opportunity, if someone's listening and they've experienced it, or if they have suggestions of pre-work that you guys can do now, I'd love for people to be able to reach out to you and make those suggestions in a caring and knowingly way, right? Like, you don't want to be too overwhelmed, but I just imagine there's things that you aren't thinking of, rightfully so, because you're just trying to think of ways to keep him here.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there's people that have insight into things they wish they did.
Yeah. Like, if I would have known, I would have done this.
Yeah.
Yes. Any suggestions are great, because even with kids, it sounds weird, but is there a book that, like, is there something that could make some of this prepare them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how that's going to work. And that's terrifying.
Yeah. It's such a unique situation, because we don't often have people on that are just in the thick of things. I think about last season, I had a couple people on that were, and it's just such a different perspective, because, we're still writing your story. Like, this is a part of writing that story. And 6 months from now, we don't know what that story is going to be like. If there's one thing that, like, you hope that, like, your kids would kind of take away from this, or, have to move forward, what does that look like for you?
I actually
like, what lessons do you,
The one thing that I keep, it's kind of like our motto, I want to say, that we talk about. And it's like, I wrote it down so I didn't screw it up. It's run when you can, walk if you have to, crawl if you must, but never give up. Because at the end of the day, if I would have stopped, you don't know, you just have to move forward. And I just want them to look back and realize that we have tried to protect them as much as we can. We have tried to be honest with them. And sometimes on those dark days, you're going to have them. You're going to have dark times. You're going to have dark days. But just keep going, because it's going to get better. You just got to figure out when and push for that.
And despite like, what do you feel like right now keeps you going? Like what's your driving motivator?
My kids. Because I know that no matter what happens, someone has to be there. And through the good, the bad, the ugly, it all, like, they're going to see it. They're going to see this whole story unfold. They've been seeing it. They've seen the chapters, but we need to figure out how to finish this book. Like, whether that's a good ending or a bad ending, I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, good or bad, I need to be there and help them through that and push them through that and make sure that they don't. I need to make sure that even if this doesn't go the way that we hope, that I can keep them on a path forward, because I don't want this to be something that holds them back forever. Because at the end of the day, as a parent, you don't want that for your kids. You want whatever life throws at you, that they can overcome it. And it's just figuring out how. And I just need to keep moving forward and keep them at the end of the tunnel for me, that this has to work and I have to figure it out. And we have to push through it. And at the end of the day, everything's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. And I just have to let go of the control of it, because I need to be a mom. And as hard as that is, I need to, even today, I need to remember that I think you get stuck in the caretaker mode. I don't want to say I prioritize Alan's stuff right now, but with this week, yes, I am prioritizing, last week and what's coming. I need to make sure that they know that I'm there for them too. And that I will always be there. And even on the days that I don't want to get out of bed, or I don't want to do anything, or dad doesn't want to right now, we're still your parents and we're still there, and we'll get through it one way or another.
Yeah. I know that you brought your notebook, and we are at time, and I want to make sure if there was anything that you haven't said, that you had a chance to say it before I ask my final question.
I think the only thing is, and it's not even for me, it's for the listeners, is don't be afraid to trust your gut on things, because that is one thing that I have learned, and it has helped me with other things with my children, with their medical side of things. Don't be afraid to get a second opinion. Don't be afraid to ask the hard questions, because if I wouldn't have done those things, and if he wouldn't have done those things, this could be a very different, we don't know how long we would have waited then for these diagnoses or anything. So it's really just trust your gut. If you don't feel like something is right, or you want, get it, because you need to advocate for yourself and for your own loved ones.
Yeah. And my final question is, if you could tell your younger self anything, what would that be?
Oh boy. You didn't prep me for that one, Becky.
I don't prep anyone. I don't prep anyone for it.
It'll be okay. It might not be great some days. It might be horrible other days, but it'll be okay. Because I think growing up, you always think that everything is going to be peachy and happy. And I think if I could tell myself something, it would just be like, it'll be okay. You're going to have those dark days, and just push forward.
Rylee. Thank you so much for sharing your family's journey with us today. Your strength and resilience in the face of so much adversity are truly inspiring. From navigating your husband's diagnosis to rebuilding after a fire, your story is a powerful reminder of how love and determination can carry us through the hardest moments. To anyone listening, if you're going through something similar, know that you're not alone, and it's okay to lean on others for support. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time on For the Haters. Thank you. Thanks for listening to For the Haters. Don't forget to connect with us on socials, follow, like, and share to help more people find this community, and remember, they're not alone. And if you haven't yet, join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. The more we grow, the more lives we can impact.
What's your name?